There's a very interesting story regarding Avram after he defeats the four mightiest kings. One of the lesser kingdoms that was conquered was the kingdom of Sodom. This was the community of his nephew, Lot. Avram the victor. You would think that the captives would be considered his chattel. The humans, the flocks, the herds, and all the possessions. But yet, the king of Sodom comes to Avram and says to him, "Give me the people, and you take the chattels, you take the possessions." I mean, he's a captive. How does a captive dictate to the victor what he should take, what he should not take? But Avram did not react. And because the king of Sodom was so evil, and his every ulterior motive was rooted in evil, with an evil intent, Avram said, "I will not take from you as much as a thread or a bootstrap, because I don't want you should say that I became wealthy due to you. That anybody should consider for a moment that my wealth is attributed to you. My wealth is attributed to God. God is my benefactor, not Sodom, these evil people. So not only will I not take the people, I will not take the inanimate possessions." The Talmud tells us, ultimately we know from the narrative of the Torah, Sodom continued in their evil way to the point where God says, "I will not tolerate this community any longer. I will obliterate them from the face of the earth." As much as Avram pleaded on their behalf that they should be saved, maybe there are 50 righteous people in the community. In their merit, do not destroy the Sodom community and its sister communities. Maybe the 45 devoutly righteous people, till finally he gets to maybe the 10. God says there are no 10. They have no saving grace. And ultimately, they were obliterated. It was a cosmic destruction. Avram should have said initially when the king of Sodom approached him, "Give me the people, and you take the possessions, the chattels." What he should have said, "I will take the people." Because if he would have taken the people, he could have brought them under the wings of the divine presence. He would have converted them to monotheism. And this, the Talmud tells us, was a claim against Avram. You had the opportunity to take a nation, especially being the victor, especially being who you are, with your ability. You could have converted them, to bring them tachas kanfi ashchina, under the wings of the divine presence. How do you let it go? Therefore, the Talmud says, your children will be strangers in the land that's not theirs. And ultimately, there's going to be a bondage. They will be afflicted for so many years. And after the bondage is completed, they will go out with great wealth. One of the reasons we attribute the bondage, because the Jewish people, Yaakov didn't fail, that he should deserve to go into bondage to Egypt. But it's due to the founding father of the Jewish people, Avram Avinu, being not sufficiently responsible and take advantage of the moment, that's why we went into slavery, into bondage. And ultimately, we were redeemed by God. It's very interesting. I mean, here you have a nation which personifies evil. Sodom and evil are almost synonymous. Or I should say, they are synonymous. And yet Avram, he pleads on their behalf. He goes into a debate with God why they should not be destroyed. And then God finally explains to him that there's no saving grace. Why is Avram putting himself forth? And even in the dialogue, during his presentation of his case, he was concerned maybe he spoke out of turn, which could even jeopardize his own relationship with God. Why did he debate this case so forcefully? What exactly was Avram's issue? So Rashi, in his commentary, who's the commentator of the Torah, writes, because since God himself had said that he's the father of all nations, Sodom was one of those nations. They were under his umbrella of nations. Therefore, as a result of this, he had a responsibility to defend them if his defense was valid. That's the Midrash. However, according to the understanding that the reason why the Jewish people went to bondage into Egypt was because he failed, because he had not taken them under the wings of the divine presence. So now all of a sudden, they're going to be destroyed. If they're not going to be destroyed, there's still a chance Avram could turn the tide. He can influence them to bring him back to monotheism. But if they're destroyed, that means the verdict is in. It becomes an irreversible verdict. The Jews must go to bondage. But as long as they're alive, there's still a chance of a reprieve. Because Avram now could succeed to bring them to monotheism. And if he does that, this will avert the bondage in Egypt. And ultimately the Jews will not be impacted negatively because of this.